Okay, so I'm in NoMansSky in my Quest 3 using the RTX 5080, and in virtual desktop I'm running this on ultra settings, so it's very sharp, and I'm also using the DLSS4 override, which actually I'll link in the description to this video. I'll link a video to Paradise Decay where it describes how you can get that set up. There's multiple ways you can do that, and I actually did it a while ago on my 3080 because even older GPUs will have access to that DLSS4 in order to give you a better clarity in the distance. It just requires, it's very basic to do anyway, but it does mean that you get that benefit even on older GPUs now as well. So yeah, go over to Paradise Decay's video anyway, just to see how you do that if you want to incorporate that. But it's taken me, so I've recorded this video yesterday. I didn't, not this particular video, but I recorded this same kind of concept, but I was trying to just keep things really basic and just do like an initial take in NoMansSky. Today I've had a bit of time to go in and try to tweak things better. So let me just go into my in-game settings now. You can see I've got FPS VR overlay running at the bottom. We're running at a pretty consistent 72, but it does fluctuate still. It's it's still not perfect, unfortunately. So these are the settings that I've settled on now. So texture quality we've got high. I could probably go up to ultra without too much of a problem there anyway. Basically anything that is affecting CPU I've kept quite low, because my CPU is a 5800X3D. It's not the worst CPU in the world, it's pretty good actually, but this is where NoMansSky just seems to, whenever it gets those spikes, those hitches and things like that, it seems to almost always come from the CPU side. Now I'm running this 5080, so I've tried to keep those down as much as possible, but there's my settings anyway for your reference, so you can see what I'm running at. And I will try to keep this video edited very, a small amount, just so you can see uninterrupted footage and know that although it's running really well, you will still get hitches. Let me get into the ship and we'll have a quick fly around. You can see from the frame timing graph at the bottom there, the GPU side there's no issues whatsoever. The CPU side is where you'll see those red lines, and that's when you'll experience a little hitch here and there, but most of the time it's running quite well. Now if you run in virtual desktop with SSW enabled, it does tend to try to limit you and knock you down to those 36 FPS at half frame rate quite often, even though the frame timing graph is showing you that you can basically almost run 72. So I've disabled SSW in this video. You can see just flying around here, I'm getting hitches as I fly around. It's not a perfect experience, and that's the nature of this game. It just is always like that. That was quite interesting. Let's go and have a quick look at that. So although a 5080 helps, you can see it helps from the GPU side, it really does. My CPU is probably the limiting factor in this game now. So a 9800X3D in conjunction with a 5080 would probably solve at least some of these problems. I don't know. I still don't know the effect. It would be good to get some benchmarks from somebody who's got that kind of a CPU. But even on Paradise Decay's video, I think he's running a Core Ultra. So he's got a new PC and he's running a Core Ultra 9285, I believe. I'm not 100% on that. I'll put a correction on the screen now anyway if it isn't that. But so his does seem to be running more consistently than mine, and it almost always comes down to the CPU side. You can see, like, I've got absolutely solid both sides, frame timing graph here, and it can last like that for minutes. And then other times you'll be flying around or you'll be going from place to place, and then you'll get these hitches, and it's almost always from the CPU side. So a 5080 in NoMansSky is completely sufficient in my opinion. A 5800X3D is probably, the limiting factor, as I mentioned. So still a little bit disappointed, but it's running better than it ever has for me. And like I say, that DLSS4 does make a difference in terms of clarity. It just doesn't seem to make, well, it wouldn't. I mean, it doesn't really make too much of a difference in terms of performance overall, but to make it, you can lower resolution in virtual desktop, I guess, and then lean on that DLSS4 a little bit more. You notice it in the distance. So I notice it more than anything in the distance. So all those trees in the distance look really, really sharp now, whereas before, without that DLSS4 override, there would be a little bit blurry. Just everything looks sharper anyway, but especially you notice it in the distance. So this isn't running bad as I wander around here. This is quite a lush planet as well, so it's got, it's probably requires a little bit more power than some of the other planets that you might visit. But I've not got too many complaints as I'm wandering around here, but I know if I take off, if I get in the ship, if I go somewhere else, if I land, if I go into the space station, I might get all these hitches. Let's just go and visit the space station anyway and see what we get. As we take off and leave the atmosphere, they've solved some of the problems in NoMansSky with the sharp spike as you leave the atmosphere or enter the atmosphere in the planet. But yeah, that was quite smooth to see. Just taking off there, flying around. I've still got a nice solid green frame timing graph on both sides. No complaints when it's like this. Let's go out into space, see what happens. You'll probably still notice a blip on the... Yeah, there's the blip, but I didn't notice any stutter or anything like that in game, even though it does still show it on the frame timing graph. Oh, right. Let's head to the space station. I'll see how it is in there. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But as you can see in space as well, as we fly around in space like this, there's no issues whatsoever. It's mainly on planet surfaces, and it's dependent on the type of planet that you're visiting as well. You can visit relatively barren planets and it will be equal to how it is now in space. Other times, if you've got really, really lush planets, a lot of stuff going on, then it will drop down and you'll get those hitches still. But it's not all the time. I think, it is probably the best I've played. I will still go back. I've got to quickly mention it. That decompressionator mod that I installed and I made a video on a couple of months ago, that was the sharpest difference I've noticed in terms of performance. So here we've got hitches as we come down, dropping down to frame rate. Very noticeable as I landed there. Now we're back up to 72. So not too bad, that's fine. Yeah, still getting a few hitches here and there. Like I say, it's not perfect. That was a big one. Quite a big spike there as I'm just going up onto the gantry there. So we're getting it all over the place here as well. I've lowered settings down. I've tried to optimize as much as I can. And the thing is, you can optimize and get it running how you think it, to get it running really, really well. And then all of a sudden you go somewhere else in the game and it's not. It drops down really badly. So it's dependent on area and all of these other things. It's just it remains frustrating to me, this game, in terms of getting it decent performance out of it. And if anybody says, it's absolutely flawless for me and this kind of stuff, then, I'm not saying I don't believe you. I just need proof. That's really what it comes down to. I just need proof because I've tried everything. I've tried absolutely everything. Let's head over to this planet anyway and see how this one is. It looks like a nice, snowy, a frozen moon. Perfect. That should be quite nice. Let's head down to this and we'll see what it's like. So the usual stutters there as it starts to render the planet as you get closer, dropping down again. Quite smooth here though. The thing is, people can play this with these minor stutters here and there and not even be bothered about it. As long as they're hitting that 72 for most of the time, they don't care. And it annoys me that I do care. I wish I didn't, because I just want to enjoy the game. I don't really care about, tweaking settings constantly to get the absolute perfect experience. I just want it to be consistent, and it's still not on my system. Maybe it's time for a CPU upgrade. That's going to be a big expense again though. But yeah, this is running good. You see, on this planet compared to the other one, the Paradise planet I was on, there's not as much going on. It's still dropping down though. Still dropping down. Look at that. It does look a lot sharper with that DLSS4. It's made a big difference. It's how the game looks anyway. And the thing is, I could drop it down in resolution, but that's really only going to be beneficial to the GPU, and the GPU's not struggling anyway, so there's no point in dropping it down in resolution. What I really need is like optimizations in how the assets are being loaded and stuff like that, which they seem to have done in this update, but it's still not perfect. But anyway, I'll leave it there. That's I did get requested this video by a few people anyway, just to show how it's running NoMansSky. I have tried to tweak it to get it running as good as it possibly can on my system. Hope it's been helpful to some people anyway. Maybe I'm not going to stop playing NoMansSky just because of this. I think it's still fantastic, and as I mentioned, probably the best overall I've had it running. I just wish it could be consistent once again. But yeah, I'll leave it there for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you like more videos like this, and I'll see you next time.